Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Kaiser and Torsion Talk EU4 Politics.
Hello.
Hey Kaiser, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. You?
I'm doing quite well. How'd last week's session go for you?
It was pretty annoying, but it was fun.
What happened to you?
I went to U, and then I got my army stack wiped, but I'm fixing it.
So, Scotland. Strong session from them. They've expanded both their borders on the British Isles as well as opened up a colonial front. What are your thoughts on the economic might that we may see coming out of Scotland this week in the next few weeks?
I think it's great to see. It's cool to see a strong Scotland, and seeing them as they're just emerging as a nice power, and it's cool to see that. I think we're gonna see a nice Great Britain, and how they choose to move forth is very well. I'm interested to see that.
And off to Scotland's left side there, we've got good old Ireland or Tyrone. Any thoughts on the Irish play so far?
I mean, the diplomacy stayed the same. They're called. Oh yeah, the coalition. Can't miss that. I'm sorry, but how did they get that? I was not over there in that section
Honestly, I don't
of the world.
understand it either. So, what Kaiser's referring to, Ireland currently has a coalition war with France, Brittany, and Brabant. Uh, Interesting, those three nations. It might have had something to do with them vassalizing Portugal? Or taking the provinces in southern England that they did and gave to Cornwall their vassal. I'm not entirely sure, but as you can see, Tyrone and Scotland are currently in a punitive war with France, which, while France has some rebel problems, etc., etc., not a great place to be.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on how they can work their way out of this?
let me check their economy. Okay, so they're making 10 ducats. That's not very strong, especially since they got the military might of France up against them. Um, I mean, they could always appeal to help from the Scandinavians if they're willing, or from the eastern people like Brunswick and Holland and Bavaria, if they want to take out France, because France can emerge as a strong threat. I think that's a good option, but by themselves they're not going to be able to do this. I don't think them and well, actually them and Scotland probably, but yeah, they're going to have to reach out diplomatically.
And the third member of this triumvirate, if you will, Holland, extremely strong economy for this point in the game. Relatively quiet on the battlefront, but starting to expand colonially. Any thoughts on our good friend Mindboy and his play so far?
I think he's doing pretty good. That's a nice trade income for this stage in the game. Didn't see that one coming. Um,
16 ducats out of the English Channel. That is quite
yeah.
impressive.
Well, I guess since England's out of the way, but not gonna. Oh yeah, he's going colonial too. So
And here's another interesting little wrinkle for you about Holland. If you right click on Burgundy and you
yeah.
take a look at the dynastic actions available for Holland,
Oh yeah, he can claim throne and then probably get a PU over him.
that would be a very strong Holland.
Yeah, he'd have the lowlands, and then you have that little chunk of France down there. That would make him a target, though, because he'd be right in the way of Jerusalem, Bavaria. Uh, well, I was gonna say Savoy, but
Yeah, so for those of you who weren't aware, our Savoy player, a little bit of a tough war against Milan, has chosen to leave the game. If anyone wants to jump in, Savoy is open, and honestly, diplomatically might be a tough sell, but economically, 18 ducats, not a terrible spot to be. Any threats you see facing the triumvirate of, we'll call them the trade powers, our Scotland, Irish, and Dutch friends?
I mean, only if they get greedy and start attacking the Scandinavians. But other than that, I don't see too much. Except for Florence taking Portugal, but that could just be trying to get out of Italy.
And as we rotate to our Scandinavian brethren, apologies last week. I incorrectly stated that Victor and Slurfen were both Norwegian. Turns out both Victor and Slurfen are Swedish. So apologies to both my friends on that front. Thoughts? Norway. Strong presence colonially. Looks like we may be seeing a Norwegian Texas.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Seeing another Texas after the last game, the Comchattles had a strong Texas. I'm hoping to see another strong Texas from Norway. I think that's a huge opportunity there.
Doing quite well. No debt yet. They've got 3 colonies active, so they are cruising right along. Um, Religiously, what do you think Norway should do? Right now, they're Catholic. Reformation has spawned. We do have 3 Protestant Germans. Which direction do you think Norway should go? Should they go Protestant? Should they go Reformed? Or should they stay Catholic? Taking into account the fact that it looks like they're going Texas.
I think Protestant's good because then they can stack those. I think you can get some nice military modifiers from Protestant if I'm not mistaken. And if you stack that with the Texas ideas, then you can have a really strong Texas.
Yep, Protestant, of course, you get the discipline as well as the morale bonus, and then you could stack a production efficiency on there as well if you wanted to take advantage of some of
Or
those nice New World resources. And
if you somehow got Orthodox, I would recommend that, but I don't know where you would get that.
so, interesting that you mention it. Sweden has quite a few Orthodox provinces and did attempt a culture or a religious shift, was unsuccessful because their March Livonian order had to leave early and sent an army to wipe out their Orthodox rebels before the rebels could finish the conversion.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep, so as you see, Sweden, quite a few Orthodox provinces, but not enough to make the shift yet. But regardless, Sweden's looking like they're in a pretty strong spot, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, especially since they're the number three great power, only behind France and Ming.
And economically, just behind Holland, just ahead of Scotland from Duckett's perspective. Manpower is looking much healthier than it was last week. A little bit of debt, but nothing too major, and ideas are coming along. Any
Yeah, they got
challenges
nice.
or threats you see for our Scandinavian brethren?
I don't think so. I think after they took out Kazan, they're kind of home free. They can just expand as they wish. All they've got in the east is AIs. All they've got in the south, well, they got Brandenburg, but I don't think they're going into HRE. That wouldn't be intelligent, in my opinion. Um, they go into Poland. That's just more AIs. That's a lot of living space.
So if you take a quick look at the HRE elector map mode, you can see the 3 human electors right now are voting Sweden to be the emperor. So
So
who
you're an
knows what we
elector.
may
Can you
see there.
enlighten me on what's happening, or would you like to keep that confidential?
So the rest of the Germans have gone Protestant, except for Brandenburg, the current emperor, but obviously to form Prussia, you must be Protestant. So we need to shift the emperor slot out of Germany for now. And Sweden said he was interested and can add quite a bit of land and has the ability to pass one of those reforms.
Seems like a good play. That's a nice cooperation between four players to increase the overall. I don't want to say wealth, well-being of you guys.
It'll be interesting to see if it actually comes to fruition. So, long term, Norway obviously goes to the New World, Sweden swoops in. Where does Sweden go from there? Do you think they're going to push hard to the east and maybe run into China? Obviously, they don't have the Siberian frontiers that Russia has, but they could carve their way there along the hordes. Or do you see some conflict brewing over the English Channel and our trade triumvirate?
I don't see any conflict brewing in the English Channel. It doesn't seem like there's any reason to be. Norway's already transferring their trade to Holland, which means that it doesn't seem like they have any aspirations to take any trade there. Uh, and just yeah, I don't see that there's any reason that they would go to war with each other, especially just seeing like the mindset of the people in this game, because this is a rather passive group of players, I'd say.
And do you think we'll see the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth fall this next session, being one of the last remaining AI powerhouses stuck in between Sweden and Livonia's expansion? Byzantium's creeping up on them, Brandenburg and Bavaria expanding through Bohemia. Will the PLC be here when we do this review next week?
If Livonia wants to grow, then Poland's gonna be dead.
Now we'll shift our focus south, your former homeland here. We've got Georgia, Byzantium, the Knights, and the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Obviously, AQ no longer with us, shifting down towards Ethiopia. Byzantium, another strong session, swallowing up Wallachia, took over some land from AQ. Seems like they have a strong expansion route towards that rich Persian trade node. Can anything stop Byzantium at this point?
Well, definitely, there's always something to stop players. It's just whether people are willing to. Um, if there was a coalition of players that ganged up on Byzantium, they could stop him. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Byzantium's been very nice to his neighbors, although opportunistic. Um, and I just don't see him falling. I think he's going to have a good game,
Does
unless
Georgia
people
have
team
any
up on him.
chance? Or do you see future conflict between Georgia and Byzantium?
If he works it out diplomatically, then Georgia. If Georgia works this out diplomatically, then he can be in a very good spot, like better than I'd say like 75% of the players, just expansion route wise, because then he can go east and do just nothing but AIs, especially in that northern area where everything's just a mess. Nothing's really organized. I mean, he is in a bankruptcy, which I don't know why I didn't take it sooner. I don't know what he would have been afraid of, but now he has got all these rebels and stuff, and he's got a bankruptcy. When does it
He
expire?
is almost out of the bankruptcy.
Oh, okay,
Important to
1 year,
note.
so it's actually
Yep,
not that big of a deal.
yep. The rebels
Yeah,
will be
he's
quickly
basically
taken care of, and then, yeah.
he's in a great position, except for internal conflicts. Interesting.
Yep, that's a disaster that typically fires when you bankrupt this early in the game
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because of the penalties that come from the bankruptcy.
Yeah, so I'd say Georgia and Byzantium are in very good positions. The Knights are interesting, though, I think.
Yep, let's shift over to the Knights. They did a little bit of expansion. They've got Malta now. They also have Ibiza, one of the great party islands of EU4. Plenty of opportunity to raid. Navally, not particularly strong just yet, but no one seems to be, so probably unrivaled in the Mediterranean at this point. Maybe the Pope, maybe Naples fleet could contend with them. Do you see the Knights continuing to expand, or do you think with Jerusalem moving in along that coastline, the Knights may be out of options?
I think the Knights has as many options as they need, as long as Byzantium is willing. Uh, I stumbling over my words here. Okay, so the Knights have plenty of expansion routes, just around them because Byzantium has let them. This land that they took here, I know Byzantium cut them off with these two state provinces. I don't know why. But all their expansion routes are just because people are letting them, I think, which is sad to say because I like to see independent players. I'm not saying that I've always been the most independent, but he has expansion routes as long as people let him.
There's nothing to knock strong diplomatic play, as we saw last season. Fjord,
Yeah,
phenomenally diplomatically powerful. His presence was felt throughout the game without having to participate in too many player wars.
yeah, that was a really strong diplomatic. That's one of the strongest diplomatic games I've ever seen.
Final question
It's
for
very
you.
important.
Byzantium, Jerusalem. Any tension you see there? Naples is boxing in the Tunisian expansion route. Jerusalem may chew up most of the Mamelukes. If I'm Byzantium, am I worried?
I wouldn't be worried of Jerusalem if I was Byzantium. I'm pretty. They organized whatever you want to call this war, the Crusades, together, and he gave them all this land willingly. Well, actually, wait, no, it was a separate war, but
And they are
from what I
competing
see, I
over
don't
the
see.
Aleppo node. Control of that Aleppo node is
That's true.
key for Persian trade to make it to Constantinople.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even sure. If I had to guess, there'll probably be conflict later on. I just don't know when.
And as we shift over to Italy, probably the center of player conflict so far, Milan, Jamie, one of the stronger players on the server, took quite a bit of land off of Austria this session, ended up in an AI coalition war. Savoy, Naples, and the Pope decided to see if they could make Jamie pay for that expansion, but ended up on the losing end of another player war. What can the Italians outside Milan do to maybe not stop Jamie, but maybe contain him and put him in a situation where he can't prey on the AI so aggressively?
Well, they'd have to. Well, with a Savoy player, I would have plenty of recommendations because Savoy could go north and cut him off. But I think they'd have to rely on a Bavaria player instead. Because what they need is they need somebody to just cut him off so he can't go and take out AIs, which right now he has kind of free reign. And if he goes through Austria, then he can probably just break free entirely into Hungary and Bohemia, which wouldn't look good for them. So if they want to contain Milan, they're going to need Bavaria to go and cut him off, or just to just war any of his enemies and take that land before he can. Again, if there's a Savoy player, the Savoy player can go into Switzerland, yada yada, then they can declare. But it seems like it's going to be a really hard thing, especially since Milan is now allied with Poland, France, and Morocco. Those are some good allies.
Yep. And when we take a look at the economies in Italy, you've got Naples, middle of the pack, sitting at 17. You've got the Pope pulling up the back of the bus on this one. High war exhaustion from that war with Milan. Potential disaster firing here. Only 13 ducats. You look at Florence, extremely strong financially. And then
That is very
Milan,
strong.
one of the highest, I believe, if not the highest player income to date. Do you see maybe Florence and Milan ganging up and splitting the nodes, Genoa, Venice?
I would say it could be intelligent to do that. Um, they both have the strongest economies in Italy, and if they teamed up and they put that together, they'd have about 65 ducats of production against, say, if Papal State and Naples teamed up, they'd have like 20 something. And then even if you just threw Byzantium in there, that would equal less than Florence and Milan's incomes combined. You have Naples, Papal State, and Byzantium, and they wouldn't add up to the incomes of Milan and Florence. So it could be beneficial if they were to team up. But judging by how it's been with all these Italians ganging up on Milan, it might just be Milan versus everybody.
Which, as Jamie's shown, he's willing to fight, and you better come with everything you got because he's willing to go bankrupt for it. Milan in a little
Yeah,
bit of debt after those most recent wars, but came out ahead, having taken Piedmont from Savoy and knocking out the Pope early in that war, and Naples as well. As we shift over to Florentine Iberia, Florence has not yet selected any colonial ideas. It does give them a jump off point if they choose to take one at Tech 10. Do you see conflict between Florence and Granada? Or do you think that Florence is just using this as a jump off point and won't try to gobble up the rest of Castile?
um, I'm not sure what Florence is doing here. Granada. I don't think. Wait, does Granada need any of these to form Andalusia? Let me check.
Granada needs the three Moroccan provinces. They do
That's it.
not need anything from Florence.
Okay, so Granada doesn't need to have any contention with Florence, so they probably won't, considering that they have what? Well, actually, never mind. I was gonna say considering that they have Savoy at their doorstep, but yeah,
Yeah, they no
yeah,
longer have
we
Savoy at
really
their
need a smooth
doorstep, and
player.
their mission tree does push them into all of Iberia.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why Florence and Granada couldn't split Iberia, unless Granada just wants to be greedy, or Granada needs that land to protect themselves if they fear other Italians like Naples.
Yeah, and Granada, real strong session last week, building off of the. It was their first session, or a session and a half, but good expansion. They have plenty of growth left. If the trade triumvirate does take down France at some point, it'll open up quite a bit of land for Granada, especially losing Savoy as a player. I I look to see a strong Andalusia this season.
Not that there wasn't one last season.
And shifting to our last little European block, we got the triple Bs: Brunswick, Bavaria, Brandenburg. The walls are closing in on our German brethren here. It's starting to get crowded. We've got Milan in the south, was able to grab the Tyrol gold mine. Sweden is moving through Denmark like butter. Holland obviously has got that claim on Burgundy if they choose to exercise it. Jerusalem, the strong alliance with AI France still.
And Austria.
Yep. Austria not.
Austria, not as
Jamie
good
beat
now
Austria
that
up quite a
Jamie
bit.
beat the crap out of them.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the triple Bs?
Yeah, y'all are really looking trapped in here, except for Brandenburg, which has the possibility of going to Poland and Teutons and Armenia. Um, you're being trapped. Well, actually, I want to hear your perspective because you're the one who's actually here.
Yep. So not going to give too much away, but it's getting a little crowded. There's not a ton of land left. I think this next session we'll see the consolidation of all these OPMs. I think Bavaria has played extremely strong so far. Um, right up there, 300 or so dev, 289 with. I think we've got the ability to take out all the OPMs and not worry about coalitions, and then consolidate and look for opportunities to expand. But it's going to be a balancing game because the trade triumvirate, obviously economic powerhouses, plus they've got those colonies going up everywhere. Italy obviously starts out quite a bit more dev, and then Sweden has got limitless expansion. So the Germans are definitely going to have to play a careful game here. I think it'll be interesting to see just what happens to Poland. I think Poland presents an opportunity for both Bavaria and Brandenburg to continue to expand and swallow up a little more development before the focus shifts to all player wars.
Yeah, it's true. It is going to be interesting to see how it shifts because we're gonna have all players here, but then the rest of the world's gonna be full of AI. So the people on the edge, like Georgia and Jerusalem, and all these people that can go out towards the edge, are gonna, I think, thrive. Whereas the people in the middle, like Germany, are gonna be stuck, and they're gonna have to fight player wars, which are really hard to expand through, as opposed to fighting through AI.
Yep.
So I feel like we're gonna see a weak-ish Germany in comparison to the more border countries.
And as we take a look at that rest of the world, obviously we're expecting an Ethiopia player this week. Our former AQ player is shifting over to Ethiopia. Klemf, our Hindustan of last season. Ethiopia looking like it's in a strong position. Mamelukes are weak. Kilwa weak. I see Ethiopia having a very strong session. Looked for them to consolidate quite a few AIs. I know you're a big Ethiopia fan. Any tips or advice for Klemf?
Okay, so for him, I the only tips that I can say, like, it's already in a really strong position. They already have the horn secured. All they have to do is just clean up the Hydron and stuff. But go north and take that holy city, because for some reason the AI is never able to convert Kasera e Briva and get that extra holy blessing. The holy blessing you can get. Wait, what holy blessing does he already have? Okay, so the AI already chose missionaries, which is weak, and then the discipline. If you go up there and you take that province, you can instantly get course creation cost, which will even further help your expansion through like either Arabia or down into Kilwa, which Kilwa has all that gold. That's really strong stuff that you'd be getting into. So once he secures that holy site and is able to convert it, he can just kind of steamroll down south, and especially in a strong position now. Oh, he has a nice navy too.
And then as we shift over to the Indian subcontinent, Gujarat, Bengal, both looking quite strong. 300 dev roughly for each of them. Gujarat 322, Bengal 283. Do you think that they will be able to work together to hold off Europeans?
On the whole of Europeans, definitely. I think that's the driving force behind any friendship that we might have, or that they might have, rather. So Gujarat, I think they have the second largest economy already, and they've only been playing here for a session, which I think is really powerful.
35
They have,
ducats. Yeah, they are just behind Milan at 36, so they're up there.
mhm. And they've got forts everywhere, so it's gonna be hard to take them down if they, even if they do mess up on something. Um, yeah, Gujarat's had a very strong start. Already eliminated a bunch of people that would join coalitions too, so they can kind of go ham. So,
You made a
and
really
then
strong play yourself, though, over here in Bengal. Some people might have not noticed, but you've got a little vassal up there who has a large number of
yeah,
cores on you.
yeah. Oh, not me literally, but yeah, the
Yeah,
nation.
the nation of you.
Okay, so I've actually run this. I can take I can take all the cores without getting a coalition, and then I can take other stuff if I want a tiny one. So I'm gonna be able to basically full annex you in this next war, which will put me out really well. Um, I did get my army stack wiped, which kind of sucks. But considering that Bengal is such a rich node, I can afford the mercs. I will say that I did accidentally take too many loans, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good over here.
The Bengal
Not
mission
as good as
tree,
Gujarat.
pretty rich mission tree, pushes you hard into Southeast Asia. As you know, Ming has not imploded yet, has quite a bit of mandates still. Are you going to be pushing towards Ming?
Yeah, I'm gonna be going into Indochina, and then hope that Ming just explodes by itself. Happens a lot of the time, especially if oh, if a nation. Wait, is it a horde that's 300 death on their border, or is it just any nation? I cannot remember. They start to like implode or something. I can't remember.
I believe it's a horde with 300 dev, or maybe it's any non tributary. I'm not positive.
I think it's any non-tributary, but if that's so, then I can just take Indochina, get a border with Ming, and then just hopefully watch them explode. If that doesn't work, then I'll have to try and beat them. Um, yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. Hopefully not too bad.
Any closing
Yeah.
thoughts you'd like to share with our audience?
Um, we need more players. Have more diplomacy outside of Europe. An Ayatollah would be cool. Interesting challenge. Yeah, other than that, I think that's
Ayatai is
pretty
a
much
little
it.
bit large right now, but maybe after this coming session we'll open it up.
Oh, yeah.
Malacca, Brunei, Pasai, if someone wants to jump in last minute, feel free. Mushasha, Ajam, playable nations. Timurids are most likely going to implode, so yeah, we'd love a few
Uh,
more people to join.
Are you opening up Japan and Korea and those yet?
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
So thanks, folks, for listening, and tune in next week to see what happened.